It is year 189 and China has been ruled by the Han dynasty for 400 years. However, the long reign was about to end by a warlord named Dong Zhou. Dong Zhou was a brute who was stationed far away from the capital. However, when the government fell into chaos due to riots, he seized the opportunity and took control of the capital by force. Anyone that stood in his path met a brutal death. The Emperor of Han was only 9 years old, and very few were by his side to protect him. It seemed like there was no hope for the emperor. However, a man named Cao Cao, who is one of the main characters of the Three Kingdoms, organized an allied force to take down Dong Zhou, and many warlords answered to his call. Yuan Shao and Yuan Shu were warlords who were from a noble background. Due to their high reputation, they were at the center of the group. A warlord named Gongsun San brings a friend to the group, and this friend's name was Liu Bei, the protagonist of this series. Liu Bei grew up in a poor family and made shoes and straw mats for a living. However, he was a descendant of an emperor, and when the Yellow Turban Rebellion broke out, he organized a militia to fight for Han. In this process, he meets Guan and Zhang who would become his most loyal followers. He helped the government forces suppress the rebellion, and now he once again came to the aid of the Han dynasty. Liu Bei was greeted by Cao Cao, but not by everyone, as he was not a high-ranked government official and was unknown to most warlords. Meanwhile, Dong Zhou was getting prepared for the Allied forces' attack. He sent Hua Xiong to Sishui Pass and Liu Bu, his most trusted general, to Hulao Pass. In order to get to Dong Zhou, the Allied forces had to defeat these two generals. Hua Xiong and Liu Bu headed to their posts and prepared for battle. The Allied forces attacked Sishui Pass, but Hua Xiong was a talented general and crushed his enemies. Realizing Hua Xiong's strength is much stronger than expected, the Allied forces' morale hit rock bottom. Fear started to spread through the air, and the Allied forces were in a jam from the very beginning. Someone needed to turn the tide, but no one was stepping up. That moment, Liu Bei came forth and said he will face Hua Xiong. However, warlords like Yuan Shu looked down on him and did not accept his request. But Cao Cao persuaded him, and Liu Bei was granted the chance to make a name for himself. So Liu Bei, Guan and Zhang headed to Sishui Pass. After his victory, Hua Xiong was getting cocky. He then hears that Liu Bei was his next opponent. As he never heard of the name, Hua Xiong was certain that an easy victory was about to be achieved. However, he was very wrong, as the strength of the three brothers was not something to be underestimated. Hua Xiong's men were no match against Guan and Zhang and many fell even before realizing what happened. Soon, a path towards Hua Xiong was opened. Guan approached Hua Xiong and challenged him to a duel. Hua Xiong was good with his blade and already took down some of the best generals of the Allied forces. He belittled Guan but accepted the challenge, which was about to become his worst mistake. The two charged against each other and the duel began. Liu Bei and Hua Xiong's men all stopped fighting and watched the two go at it. However, it did not take long for Guan to break Hua Xiong's defense. Hua Xiong's skills were nowhere close to Guan and could only watch Guan blade flying toward his neck. Guan picked up Hua Xiong's head and declared victory. Most of Hua Xiong's men lost the will to fight and started fleeing. Liu Bei took out the remaining resistance and succeeded in capturing the Sishui Pass. Even though Liu Bei captured the Sishui Pass, he wasn't planning to attack the Hulao Pass right away. However, Zhang wasn't satisfied with the victory over Hua Xiong and took off with his men to take out Liu Bu. Liu Bei and Guan had no choice but to follow him to the Hulao Pass. However, they were up for a tough battle as Lu Bu was in a different league from Hua Xiong. Lu Bu was surprised when he heard the news of Hua Xiong's defeat, but he was not worried as he was yet to meet anyone that could put up a fight against him. After watching Guan Wei's duel, Zhang Fei was itching for a fight. However, Lu Bu and his men were the toughest and most experienced soldiers of Dongzhou. Liu Bei and Guan Wei made sure that Zhang Fei didn't take Lu Bu lightly. And as expected, Lu Bu's men did not go down as easily as Hua Xiong's men. The three brothers went through a tough battle and took some heavy blows. However, Guan Wei and Zhang Fei were no ordinary men. They took out Lu Bu's men one after another and turned the tide of the battle. Soon, Zhang Fei was able to reach Lu Bu. There were many who challenged Lu Bu to a duel, but none survived. However, this didn't stop Zhang Fei from challenging Lu Bu. Lu Bu was actually intrigued by the fact that there was still someone stupid enough to challenge him. He accepted the challenge, but was certain that only victory awaited him. To Lu Bu's surprise, Zhang Fei's blade was fast and heavy. It was something he never experienced before. However, Lu Bu was Lu Bu and did not back down. Liu Bei and Guan Wei, who were watching the fight, realized Lu Bu was not someone one man could take down. They both charged towards Lu Bu to aid Zhang Fei. Lu Bu had enough trouble facing Zhang Fei and did not want to take his chances on a 3-on-1 fight. Lu Bu fled before the two arrived and ordered his men to retreat. Liu Bei captured the Hulao Pass and was once again victorious. The news of Lu Bu's defeat arrived at Luoyang, and this was not something Dongzhou had expected. Dongzhou was a tyrant, but not an idiot. He knew that he had little chance of defeating the allied forces at Luoyang, so he decides to move the capital from Luoyang to Chang'an. Luoyang had been the capital of Han for over 100 years. This decision was a crazy one that would not have been accepted if things were normal. However, there was no one left to stop Dongzhou, and the decision was made. Dongzhou also orders his men to burn and pillage the castle so that the allied forces would get nothing. Dongzhou's men were no different from Dongzhou. They killed and robbed the innocent civilians of Luoyang and burned down the whole castle. The emperor could do nothing but shed tears and watch the capital of Han burn in flames. The news of Dongzhou abandoning Luoyang arrived at the barracks of the allied forces. Cao Cao saw this as an opportunity to strike and urged the other members to quickly chase Dongzhou. However, most of them, including the leader of the group, Yuan Shao, did not want to take the risk of losing more soldiers. This was because most of them were not truly loyal to Han, and driving Dongzhou out of Luoyang was good enough. Instead of chasing Dongzhou, they threw a party to celebrate the victory. Cao Cao, who at this time still loyal to Han, was very disappointed by the attitude of the other warlords. He decides to leave the group, but no one stopped him. With Cao Cao gone and Dongzhou fleeing to Chang'an, there was no reason for the group to keep going. The alliance came to an end, and members including Gongsun San and Liu Bei decided to return to their own territory. Liu Bei was not pleased with how things ended, but his army was small and there was little he could do. At this time, Liu Bei didn't have his own territory and was staying at one of Gongsun San's castles. As Gongsun San was leaving, Liu Bei did too. Dongzhou's escape to Chang'an did not bring peace to the continent. In fact, it was the opposite. Those with ambition cared little of the safety of the emperor and saw this as a chance to expand their territory. Yuan Shao, Cao Cao, and all other warlords had their own plan, which meant war was imminent. And that ends the first episode of Liu Bei's story. If you got any questions, suggestions, or any kind of remark, leave a comment and I'll make sure to answer as soon as possible. Hope you liked this video and make sure to subscribe as the next episode is coming soon.